start?
Yes, I launched the recording, so whenever you want.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Please excuse me for my English. It's not so very good. And I can tell you how excited I'm to be here and to stand here and talk about the MOS 6402 is a real privilege for me. This little piece of silicon changed everything for us. It changed how below play, how we work, and how we code. Thank you for inviting me and celebrate this 55th birthday with you. This year we celebrate the special birthday, the 5th anniversary, 15
Brian,
anniversary.
just one thing. I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you have an? Are you sharing your screen, or do you want to share your screen?
Okay.
You're not sharing at the moment. That's why I'm saying.
You not see my.
Oh no. We see you, which is nice. But
Okay. Okay.
I know that you had a nice presentation.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. So.
Yes, now it is.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
This year we celebrate the special birthday, the 5th anniversary of the C64. In this talk, I want to show you two things. First, how was this chip created? And second, how did it change the world of computing? I also want to show you something special. This is a project created my minimalist computer batch. This is called the MOS 6402 50th anniversary computer batch. Let's look the Motorola's 6800. Please be careful. Do not confuse with the famous 68,000. That came much later. The 6800 is an 8-bit chip from 1974. It's one with 1 or 2 megahertz. It was a 16-bit address. He has a 16-bit address bus. This means it can be used up 64 kilobytes of memory. And I had special feature. It was the one of the first processor with an index register. Let's take a look inside. This has an 8-bit data bus and 16-bit address bus. The chip offers flexible addressing modes and light direct and indexed addressing. It's run on a single 5-volt power supply and consists of about 4,100 transistors. Let me introduce the main character of the story, Chuck Peddle. He was an engineer at Motorola and he helped launch the 6800. Chuck Peddle talked to many customers. He realized something important. People liked the technology, but they hated the price. Nobody wanted to pay $300. So Chuck went to his bosses. He said, let's build a cheaper CPU, but Motorola say no. This was a mistake. Chuck Peddle took his team, left the company, and joined a new player, MOS Technologies. So who has this new company, MOS Technology? They had been around since 1969. Their main business was making chips for calculators. In August 1974, a big change happened. Chuck Peddle and 7 of their engineers from Motorola started their first day in the MOS office in Pennsylvania. One of these engineers is very important for us retro friends, Bill Mesh. Bill Mesh is a legend. He worked on both the 6800 and the original 6502. But the story didn't end here. In 1978, he moved to Arizona and started his own company, the Western Design Center, because he was a co-inventor and he knew exactly how the chip worked. He used his knowledge and built better versions of the C502. The MOS version with users use less power. And here is the irony. These new chips were too good that big companies like Apple, Atari, Nintendo, and even Commodore had to license them from him. So Bill Mesh ended up owning the future of the C6502. This slide shows the full dream team. It was a mix of two groups. First, the ex-Motorola engineers, and include Chuck Peddle, the architect, and Bill Mesh, the logic genius. They bought the version, but they need help to actually build the chip. That was the MOS experts came in. People like Rod Ogrill and Harry Burcom. They were expert to lay out the manufacturing. Rod Ogrill, for example, designed the silicon technology, and Terry Holt made sure that the production actually works. Without this mix of system architects and manufacturing experts, the 24 price would have been impossible. So September 1975, San Francisco Westcom. This was the official launch. MOS technology did something crazy. Remember, Intel and Motorola sold their chips for over $200. MOS put up at that said $25. People thought it was a joke or a scam. They said a working CPU with $25, that's impossible. These must be rejected. But MOS and a big glass jar full of chips, Chuck Peddle and his team stood there and sold them directly to the engineers. They accept cash. Two $20 bills. Here is a change. Here is your CPU. But the end of the show, they had sold all of their chips, and the industry was never same again. I have to tell you a funny secret about the show. MOS wanted to look like a big successful company, so they put big glasses jars on the table, fill it to the top with chips. It looked impressive. But Chuck Peddle later admitted it was a trick. The jars were filled with broken chips at the bottom. Only the top layer worked. When people start buying them with cash, the team panicked. They had to dig through the jars to find the good chips fast enough. The idea behind this 64.1 was aggressive. It's a version before the 260, sorry, the 60-1. It was designed as so-called drop-in in replacement. It was, you could take a Motorola 6800 out of its socket and drop the 6401 right in, same pins, similar commands, but much cheaper. Motorola layers saw this, said, no way, that is not close. They forced MOS to stop selling the 6501 immediately. It was on the market for only a very short time. We look at the raw performance of the 6402. Wins easily against the 6800. Even at the same megahertz speed, the 6002 is about twice as faster. After the CPU was ready, MOS needed a way to show into the world. So in 1976, they released the KIM-1 computer. KIM-1 stands for Keyboard Input Monitor. Then come the Apple I and the Apple II and consoles. It wasn't just computers. This 6502 also conquered the living room. Looks at Atari 2600 to save money, and they used stripped-down versions called the 627. Here's the Atari 400 and 800. Fun. The architect from Atari built later the Amiga. And here, in the 80s, Commodore ruled the world. He started with the VIC-20 in 1980 and was cheap, friendly, and it still used the original 6502. But then came the big one, the Commodore 64. For the 64, MOS technology updated the CPU. They called 6410. It was basically a 6402, but he had special trick. He could manage more memory. And Apple starts with his Apple IIc. And this one is the first 60-bit computer from Apple, and the last version with a 6502 based CPU. The rise and the fall of MOS technology. So what happened to the company MOS technology itself? After the lawsuit with Motorola, MOS had a great product, but no money left. In 1976, Commodore bought the company. This was a genius move. Suddenly, Commodore owned the factory that made their CPUs. That's changed the name to the Commodore Semiconductor Group, or CSG. If you open a C64 today, you often see CSG on the chips. That is MOS technology. The legend today. Now, you might think the story of the 6502 ended with Commodore went bankrupt. But you are wrong. The 6502 found a new life. In toys, do you remember Furby? That's a little Furby robot from 1998 that talked and blinked. They sold 40 million of them in just 3 years. And inside every single Furby was a chip made by Sun Plus. And thus, that's architecture that chip used. Yes, it was a 6502. So we talk about Furbies, but this is the most amazing part of the story. This 6502 is not just a toy. It saves life. Even today, the architecture is used in medical devices, including pacemakers and implantable defibrillators. You might ask, why would doctor put a 50 years old chip inside a human heart? The answer is trust. Modern processors are complex. They have bugs, glitches, and overhead. But the 6502 is simple. We know everything about it, was being tested for decades and does not crash. It does not do accepting things. When you build a machine that must not fail, you don't want the newest chip. You want the most robust one. And that is why the 64 is still beating in people's cheese today. I want to show one of my favorite celebrity users of the 6502. It's Bender from Futurama. In the episode Fry and the Slum Factory, the professor looks inside Bender's head with X-ray. And if you pause the video at exactly the right moment, you can see it clearly. Bender's brain is a 6502. We saw Bender, but there is an everyone more dangerous robot running on a 6502, the Terminator. In the 1984 movie, whenever we see the eyes of the T800, there is code scrolling on the screen. If looked closely, you will see instructions like LDR, STR, and jump. Yes, the Terminator runs on 6502 assembly. This gets better. This is not Skynet Advanced RE code. The filmmakers just grabbed a magazine called Nibble, which was for Apple II hobbyists, and copied the code from there. Now, you might think the 6502 is just an accident history, but its spirit is very much alive today. In the early 80s, the British company called Archon Computers wanted to build a new powerful machine. The lead designers Sophie Wilson and Steve Ferber looked at the processors from Intel Motorola, but they hated them. They found too complex, too power-hungry, and too clunky. They loved the 6502. They loved how simple and elegant it was. So Sophie Wilson decided to design her own processor. She looked the philosophy and the 6502 simply and low power, and scaled up to the result was the ARM processor. We talk about we have talked a lot about history today, about the past, but for me the 6502 is not something that belong in a museum. It's belong in your hands. In 2024, the legendary chip celebrates the 5th anniversary. I didn't want to let a milestone pass quietly, so I decided to build something. I present you the CMOS 6102 50 anniversary computer badge. This is not a piece with some blinking LED. It's a fully functional single board computer. It's a love letter from the engineering of the 1974, but built with modern tools. It's allowed to carry the spirit of the Apple I and the Commodore 64 right. Here around a neck, it shows that 50 years later, the architecture is still fun and still education and still beautiful. In this year, this legendary chip celebrates his 50th birthday, and as a fan and engineer, I did just want to bake a cake. It wanted to build something, so I started a project to honor this milestone. I presented you the MOS 6402 50th anniversary computer badge. It's not just a piece of blinking LEDs, it's a fully functional computer. And here started my computer. Yes. This is my badge. I switch. Yep. And this computer is this one. Has 32 kilobytes RAM and ROM. Has a SRAM buffer battery, and you can use accumulatoren for powering up, and you can use and use USB-C connector to connect to your PC and program this 6502 computer. I can show you. Moment. This is PuTTY. So. And this connection is a serial connection, and you can write some commands. Here's your help screen. You can go to a basic interpreter and run basic programs. Oops. Or you can has an assembly disassembler and assembler on board, and you can control the 7-segment display and 7 LEDs. Beispiel, example. Hello world. So now, hello world. Yes, that was it.
Oh, hey, thanks, Frank. Is it time for questions now? Time for question? I don't know if there are anybody with questions in the. Maybe I can start with one. I asked you already just before we started the event, but you told me this basic interpreter, so it's something similar to OpenCBM. So that means it's compatible with some Commodore Basic, but with which one is it compatible?
Yes, this is a enhanced basic. It's a special version for the 6502 processor. It's programmed by this guy here, Lee Hart and Derry Richter. And this is a simple basic interpreter you can implement in your own 6502 project. And I do this. I put this in this ROM, and it's running.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. It doesn't have the same memory map as the, for example, the Commodore 64 or something, right? I cannot poke some specific addresses the same as.
I have documented all these things on my moment. You can buy, can download here downloads and see. What? So, and you have all manuals, and my manual to this computer is here. Check. And here I have a nice manual for all details. To build this computer, you can order the PCB on PCBWay, and oops. And have fun. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Any other questions from the attendees? If not, I think worst case you can always put it in the chat. I would say many thanks, Frank. I will stop the recording now.